Hello fellow humans and welcome to this video, and unfortunately there are new crates in the shop again, and this time it is the TD invasion containers. Now, obviously I don't think I have to tell you at this point that they're dumb. Now,
hello, I like money.
The thing is, they have a drop chance of 10%, which is not bad. Then again, shit coated with gold is still shit. Now, what we have in here is we have quite a lot of tank destroyers. Now, most of people aren't really gonna enjoy playstyle of tank destroyers that much, because obviously they very much rely on you having a decent team. You know, you can't actively seek out damage with most of these tanks, which means you have to have somewhat of a decent team. If you have a very horrible team, you just can't get much done because of the nature of how these tanks work. So naturally, most of them aren't gonna be very new player friendly, and they're also not going to be very fun to play either, because either you sit at the back or you do nothing. There are exceptions though, you know, that you can play aggressively, which is very nice, but most of the time you're going to sit at the back and do nothing. The Badger, I don't think I have to tell you that the Badger is one of the worst hit 10s in the game. Now, it does have 3,400 DPM, which is very nice. However, the maneuverability is absolutely non-existent, and obviously it doesn't have a turret, so you can get shot in the side very easily. So this is just not very well-suited tank for Blitz, because you're gonna get wrecked no matter where you go. And if you camp in it, you're not making use of the armor. So, you know, if you like super slow tank destroyers, it can certainly work, but other than that, no. Then the WZ120 is one of the better tank destroyers, you know, because you can play it a lot more versatile. You know, you have 400 average damage. You have very good penetration and the DPM, and you also have very good mobility, so you can move this thing around quite easily, and you can use it very versatile. Now, the worst version of that is the Kanonenjagdpanzer 105, because while the WZ is very good, this thing has worse DPM, worse alpha damage, just slightly better gun depression, and significantly worse armor, and not much better mobility, so there is absolutely no point in owning this thing whatsoever, because the WZ and the Jagdtiger exist. Now, the Skorpion G, it's one of the two tank destroyers that I actually like. The other one is T30, which is a heavy tank. Because you can play this thing very well, very aggressive, very forward. You have 2,800 DPM, which you can up to 3,000. You have 460 alpha damage. You have very good mobility, and you can use this thing aggressively. And I also have the highest damage of all players on the NA server in the Skorpion G, which is very nice. Then we go to the Jagdtiger, which is also a very interesting tank, 3,500 DPM. You can kind of see why the Badger doesn't really add up that well when you have the same DPM 2 tiers lower with, yeah. Anyway, Jagdtiger sold for 5.5k sometimes. If you want it, buy it then. Can be a very good tank, especially for burning games, because it can put out an insane amount of damage and make crits. The turtle is crap. I think I don't need to say any more about that. Same for the tiers 5, slow, not very well armored. It does have 3,000 DPM, but the DPM needs to be able to be used properly, and if you're slow, you don't have armor, you don't have any maneuverability either, you're simply not gonna have a lot of opportunities to use that well. Then the T28 Defender, I mean, it's more of a heavy tank, therefore I don't think it's that horrible, so you can play it pretty much like a heavy, which does work quite well. You even have 10 degrees of gun depression, which is quite nice. So, a decent tank. I wouldn't pay more than 6k gold for it though, and you're eventually gonna pay more than this, because here you pay 9,000 for 8, which means you pay 9,000 to, on average, not get a tank, as you can see right here, because drop chance is 10%, which means 1 in 10, which means you have to spend on average about 10,000 per tank. And you do get boosters, extra stuff like that, but most of these things aren't worth it, because there are tanks like the ISU 130, which is, I don't know why it exists, to be honest. And the SU-130 PM, which is like the Skorpion G. I think it's slightly worse than the Skorpion, but it is pretty much up there as well as a better tank destroyer. Then the T7s, which obviously aren't worth it. This thing is dumb, like super dumb, but it works. You know, it has an insane amount of armor and an insane amount of DPM, but it is still very slow. But at Tier 7, it can just rip through anything you put in front of it, which is annoying, but it exists, unfortunately. E25. Well, it used to be fun. It's quite outdated nowadays, you know. It's not any armor, not any versatility, really. If you sit at the back, it can work beautifully with 3,000 DPM. But if you try to play aggressive, you're dead. Same with the Blaze. I mean, this thing's just... No. Just absolutely not. ISU, same story there. You can get the SU-152, which is better. And same goes for the SU-122-44. It's like... Yo, the SU-152 is just better. So now let's get into the first battle with the Skorpion G, which is one of the better tank destroyers, obviously, because first of all it does have a turret, and second of all it does have decent mobility, which is very nice. Now the problem is, when you're slow, when you don't have a turret, you can't decide what is going to happen in the battle. You can go to a certain position, and that's about it. If the enemy isn't in that position, or there's too many enemies in that position, you're dead. And since Blitz is a 7 versus 7, you can end up in a very bad situation like that, and mobility is very, very important, because, I mean, the game's called WoT Blitz, after all, and the more you can move around, the more you can make your gun useful in different positions. And 3000 DPM isn't worth anything if all the enemies are on the other side of the map, and that can happen sometimes, because while you can predict quite well where the enemies is going to be, you're not a wizard, so you'll never know exactly where they actually are. So he's kind of stock. Okay, now let's have a go at the AE rather. Well, AT, that's probably even worse. Imagine the AT7 or something like that. Like, how do you people play those? Explain that to me in the comments, please. How do you get enjoyment out of a tank like that? Because obviously, I don't. I hate slow tank destroyers. I hate turretless tanks. So this video is a bit biased, yes. And I hope you know that as well. But yeah, also, if you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe as well for more, and obviously for less tank destroyer content in the future. Like that! Fuck you! Wonderful. Oh, he's stock. How, mate? How? I mean, obviously that wasn't part of the regular tank destroyer happenings. So, here we go. Nope. Yeah, he's coming at me now. He's using HE. He's the very good and very useful HE, and that was quite lucky there to one-shot the WZ. But it is quite a decent game. As you can see, I can move around. I can be useful. I can actually peek a corner. That's another thing that you can't do when you don't have a turret. You can't peek around a corner because you have to turn your entire tank around it, rather than just the turret. So, in that sense, having a turret is way better. It's way more versatile and way more useful as well. Okay. Yep, I'm taking that, because more damage is more fun. There we go. Wonderful. Now that's the first game with the Skorpion G. 3000 damage in 3 minutes, which is very nice. Skorpion is a very, very good tank and can be worth it outside of crates, obviously. So let's now get into the second battle with a tank that is almost as bad as the crates themselves, and that is the Badger. It's slow, it's immobile, and it doesn't have a turret, which is two things that are very bad. Now, the problem with this kind of vehicle is that they only work in a certain position. If the enemy is in front of you, great. If the enemy is anywhere else, too bad. You're dead. And that also takes away the versatility and the chance to win from your own, you know, because if you have a bad team that doesn't take any map control, you can't do that yourself. You can't take any map control. You can just sit in a position and do damage from there, which can be very effective, but most of the time, having proper control over the match is more important than just getting shots. And the thing is, the longer range you shoot, the less accurate you're going to hit. And even if you have 3,500 DPM, you're not going to be able to make use of it, because obviously you won't be able to shoot all the time, and you'll only be able to shoot when the enemy is actually facing you, because you can't actively hunt them. You can't actively go and seek damage with this vehicle, you know? If I try to push, they can just counter-push me because I'm too slow to get back out. So you have to very carefully plan your approach and stuff like that, which takes away from the fun, because then it just turns into a boring, campy strategy game, which is not fun, like WoT PC. So, like that. 57 heavy. Imagine having to turn your entire hull to 2 damage. Yo. Okay, 50M maybe. Nope. Love that. How do you make a tank destroyer that inaccurate? It's just sad. Okay, here we go. Nice. Okay, let's keep going, I guess. I mean, we have a pretty good team here. That does work quite well, and that is very nice. And that is very useful, as you can see, 4-0 currently, so I don't have to do too much. But with a bad team, that would look completely different. You don't want to have that. So, I don't like tank destroyers. I never will. If you do them, if you do like that, explain why. I'll never understand it. Put it in the comments. Yeah. I'm not going to play another battle in this tank, obviously, because why would I do that? Nice. Why the hell would I do that? Okay. See. Shot there. I mean, 2.4k ain't too bad, I guess. It's acceptable. Let's have another shot. Go. Yeah, I mean, if the enemy is sitting in front of you like that, you can do quite decent damage, obviously. But, you know, it's not very fun to do that, from my perspective. It's not fun. It's not cool. It's not even useful most of the time, because, as you saw there, the team did all the work. I just shot people that were not paying attention. So, anyway, that's it. Fuck the crates, fuck the tank destroyers. Variably, if you like tank destroyers, that's perfectly fine. But, if you like crates, please seek a therapist. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. See you for the next one. Goodbye.